It's hard to overstate how foundational Superman is, not just to comics, but to the very concept of the modern superhero. He's not part of the blueprint, he is the blueprint. That legacy explains why there have been so many wildly different interpretations of the character over the last 86 years, and with each new version, the expectations are sky high. Zack Snyder's brooding, mythic Superman alienated those who wanted a big blue Boy Scout. Now, James Gunn's lighter, more hopeful take on the character isn't landing with people who liked Snyder's version. At some point, I had to tune out the noise going into this movie. One camp kept saying the movie was too childish, because God forbid Superman appealed to kids, right? While the other side takes any criticism of this movie as a personal attack. So here's the deal. No more social media bickering, okay? From now on, it's just the movie itself, because God knows there's enough to talk about there. Superman follows Clark Kent as he faces Lex Luthor's latest scheme, one that doesn't just threaten Earth, but also Clark's belief in himself and the legacy he carries. Alongside a sprawling ensemble of heroes, journalists, and a flying dog, Clark must confront a disturbing truth about his origins and rise to the occasion as the one and true Man of Steel. If that sounds a bit vague, it's because the movie is juggling a lot. A lot of characters, a lot of tones, a lot of plot, and yes, sometimes it drops the ball. Let me break it down, starting off with the visuals. Some shots in Superman are stunning, stylized, colorful, and ripped straight from the comics. Visually, the movie's no Spider-Man 2 or anything, but it's inspired. The soundtrack is great, as is to be expected, but bringing back John Williams' classic theme feels like using a cheat code, honestly. It's used as a leitmotif throughout the movie, and it really works. The credits song also stuck in my head for a while. The special effects are okay. Some of the CGI sequences look a bit fake, but the makeup and costumes, especially with characters like Metamorpho, are extremely well done. Speaking of the characters, this movie is packed with them, which is both a good and a bad thing all at once. Hits: Jimmy Olsen, the babe magnet, Mr. Terrific, who gets a great action scene, the Kents, who are the heart of the movie, the engineer, who is one of Lex's lackeys, and of course, Crypto the Superdog, who is mostly here for comedy. Misses, well, Ultraman feels underbaked, and a few of the side characters are basically extended cameos. Most of the Daily Planet crew, aside from Clark, Lois, and Jimmy, gets like 2 scenes. Cat Grant, for example, is basically only in the movie to show off her admittedly very nice, round, bouncy glasses. That's what I meant. Nice, round, bouncy glasses. Yeah. The ensemble is ambitious, but that ambition sometimes comes at the expense of focus, which brings me to the big players. Crafting a Superman that pleases everyone is basically impossible, and Gunn's version is no exception. Despite all the sci-fi weirdness, this is a more grounded, human take on the character than we've seen before. Gunn has said All-Star Superman and For All Seasons were inspirations, but the tone of this movie feels closer to Max Landis' American Alien miniseries, if you've read that. Clark here feels like a guy you could bump into in real life, except for the part where he's an alien superhero, of course. David Corenswet does a great job. He looks like Superman, and he plays him with kindness, warmth, and a genuine desire to do good. The film also gives some love to Clark's scientific side, especially with the Fortress of Solitude scenes, which is something I've been missing from Superman adaptations for a while. The guy isn't just super strong, he's super smart as well, having built a bunch of robot assistants, a healing chamber, and even hypnotic glasses. That last one's pretty funny. All of that is great. But this Superman also feels immature. He's in his 30s and has been doing this for a few years, but he still loses his temper and doubts himself in ways that feel a bit too green. Like, I can't imagine somebody who's been in the superhero game for 3 years dealing with, I don't know, Toyman and Titano the Super Ape would be reacting like this. Sure, Most people would yell and throw stuff around if they were put under this kind of stress. But that's just the thing. Superman isn't most people. In making Supes more relatable, they go too far in places and he loses some of the poise and commanding presence he's supposed to have. A show like Smallville, for instance, knew how to strike the balance really well. The problem isn't Corrin Sweat, by the way. He's great. It's the writing that muddles the waters. The same can be said for Nicholas Holt's Lex. He's ridiculously intelligent, has an almost comical level of disregard for human life, and is thoroughly obsessed with destroying Superman. So far, so good. But then he throws tantrums, like literal screaming tantrums where he tosses stuff around. It's hard to take him seriously when he's pacing around like a spoiled kid who just got grounded. Now, compared to Jesse Eisenberg putting candy in people's mouths and going ding 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 ding, this version of Lex is downright brilliant, okay? But he's still not as good as the classic cold-blooded masterminds we know from the previously mentioned Smallville or the DCAU. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is actually the best written out of the three leads. She's sharp, funny, bold, she's got some journalistic integrity, she's not afraid to call Clark out on his BS, such as with the cactus thing, you'll know if you watch the movie, but the movie allows her to be loving and caring to her friends and to Clark. She's not a doormat, but she's also not a toxic girl boss. She deserves a spot alongside Margot Kidder and Erica Durance as one of the best Lois Lanes we've ever had. The problem I have isn't with her character, it's with her relationship to Clark and how it feels underdeveloped. Their chemistry is strong when it shows up, but the movie keeps separating them. During one of their few scenes together, the movie decides to have this visual joke going on in the background, and I kept losing focus on their dialogue because of it. Out-of-place humor like that is unfortunately a trademark of James Gunn's, and, well, I think it's time we talk about that for a bit. James Gunn has a distinctive creative voice, there's no doubt about it, and that voice is here and accounted for. He brings the same quirky, heartfelt weirdness that made Guardians work, but he also evidently had a million ideas and just didn't have the heart to cut any of them. It's like he tried to make 5 movies all at once and just stacked them like Jenga blocks. There's a kaiju monster scene, there's a subplot about 2 warring nations, there's cosmic stuff, family drama, oh, and did I mention there's a flying dog? None of these subplots are necessarily bad, it's just too much for one movie. Overstuffing the film like this makes it so certain elements don't get the focus they deserve. Take what I said before about Lois and Clark. I would have gladly given up at least one of these subplots to get more time with the two of them. All I'm saying is, with Gunn now leading the entire DC universe and writing and directing, I would say it's best to tag in a co-writer, just somebody to bring order to all this chaos and let the best ideas shine through. To close this non-spoiler section, Superman is sincere, colorful, and full of love for the source material, but it's also overstuffed, uneven, and kinda clumsy. There is a truly great Superman movie buried in here somewhere. This isn't quite it, but it's a promising start. It lays the foundation, even if it wobbles. If you're a fan of the comics and James Gunn, you're almost guaranteed to love it. If you're not a fan of either, well, you might like it, but I make no promises. I totally understand people who love it, and I also totally understand people who don't. Spoilers to follow. Go away now if you don't want spoilers, but please like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Okay, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about the big twist. In this version, Jor-El and Lara didn't send Clark to Earth to protect it, they sent him to conquer it. This revelation is what kicks off Clark's identity crisis in the movie, and I get what they're going for. At first, Clark is all in on that Kryptonian heritage stuff, but by the end he chooses Earth, symbolized by embracing the Kents as his true parents. His arc of embracing his human side is mirrored with Earth finally coming to accept him as their hero, Also, the third act of the movie is literally the planet being split down the middle, the world growing increasingly more divided and Superman being the one to unite it. I just want to reiterate that Ma and Pa Kent are truly great, and Clark's heart-to-heart with his father is arguably the best scene in the movie, but it's wildly controversial to portray Jor-El and Lara like that. Smallville did it, and I wasn't too crazy about that twist there either. Turning Superman's birth parents into space dictators basically is a pretty fundamental change. Gone is the idea of Clark being just as much human as he is Kryptonian. Now it's more of a nature versus nurture thing. Also, one thing, Supergirl is in this movie. She was alive when Krypton fell. Alright, she's a bit of a drunken train wreck for what little of her we see, but you're telling me she never once thought to say, oh, by the way, our people were galactic warlords, your parents sent you here to conquer the planet, just an FYI. Like, okay? It's a big swing. Some people will dig it, and I gotta at least respect the cojones it took to do it, but I think having Clark embrace both his heritages equally would have been a better choice. In closing, James Gunn's Superman is not the definitive take on the character, but it's a bold first chapter. Messy, yes, but full of heart. If future installments can build on this, sharpen the writing, and give these characters room to breathe, we could be headed towards something great. Because Superman, more than most heroes, deserves a film that is as timeless and hopeful as the character himself. Thank you if you've made it this far into the video. Join me next time as I review an anime series, an adaptation of a classic manga series from the creator of Detective Conan. Next up, Yaiba, Samurai Legend.